October was a pretty slow month for movies, honestly, for me. Sure, there were plenty of good movies. Okay, there were plenty of movies that came out this month. But, considering it is October and it is horror season, I wish there was a lot more horror movies that interested me. Or at the very least, I wish I could get to in time, so sorry if I missed any. But, I'm in college now, so priorities. Still, with the conclusion of the Halloween saga finally out, I had to have an opinion of my own because, people love to listen to me talk. And that was something I was actually sort of looking forward to, and the results were disappointing. I don't know what really to say at this point that wasn't said already. It came out a couple weeks ago, and by the time I'm writing this review, it's a bit late to really say anything that is unique, but I saw it the day it came out on Peacock because, no, I don't need to see it in theaters. Sorry, there's a cowlick in the back of my hair, and it is distracting me so badly. Like this movie with its story. Now I'll get to it, that was a lame joke. I'm just tired. Anyways, I went in knowing the movie only had mixed reception, then seeing the movie just being panned by both critics and audiences the next day, so I went in with some hope prior to knowing that. Halloween Kills was one of my top 10 worst movies last year, so with the little hope I had going in, I was still disappointed, just for the reasons I wasn't expecting. Halloween as a franchise isn't something I'm an expert on. I know the importance and impact of the original movie from the 70s, and then any sequel reception was mixed to negative on by critics and fans, and no one will like any of them more than the first, because seriously, is there one that people like more than the first movie? Which is a high bar, but still. Now, I saw the 2018 sequel, which was good. Not great, but someone who wasn't along for the franchise since the 70s, I liked the direction it was going, but being too successful, of course, instead of their plan to make it just 2 movies, it's now a trilogy, but not really. But whatever. I did want to wait to see if my opinion shifted, since after watching it, I was furious. I was so angry at the movie, I wanted to rip it to shreds, but I thought, maybe what I'm feeling is wrong. But I mean, it's my opinion, so. But look, after watching it and waiting a while, I saw some people like it and wondering why they did and hearing why. I came to the conclusion that the movie isn't horrible objectively, it's just bad. It's disappointingly bad. The way I pictured the finale, since every 3 movies were supposed to be the same night, was Laurie, Strode, and Michael Myers confront each other as Halloween night ends and a new day shines upon Haddonfield. I kind of knew part of the premise, since I looked it up when the marketing was only the climax of Laure and Michael. Like, I knew that couldn't be the whole movie, but even though I didn't just go in blind thinking, oh man, this movie isn't just about Laure and Michael, there was actually so much less Laure and Michael than I realized, but it wasn't what I thought the whole movie would be about, Because what the whole movie's about is that after a year, Michael Myers escapes and the residents of Haddonfield are in a frenzy still. Naive Corey Cunningham, played by Rohan Campbell, is babysitting for a rich family for a nice future. Still, when the bratty kid he babysits creates a scene where it almost looks like Corey killed him when he gets himself killed, because the whole opening scene was a pretty mediocre short film. He gets cleared of his charges, I think, more on this later. But 3 years later, mostly everyone in town craps on him. It makes his life unbearable. That is until he meets Allyson, played by Andi Matichak, whatever, Laurie's granddaughter, and the two get along. But with the town on their back due to hysteria and people just being, awful, Corey falls into temptation of becoming the next Michael Myers when stuff happens. So Laurie might have to forgo trying to live at peace and stop Michael's evil once and for all. I mean, when I say it like that, I could see a good movie from this, but, so most of the movie, though, Michael is barely in it. Like, I am probably not alone with people who pause the movie, watching it at home to see how long it took, and it was 40 minutes in. But the direction that takes this idea isn't great. Like, I could see what they were going for. There were different writers in the other 2 movies, so it does feel like a battle of what was the right thing to do in it. And, they didn't really know what was the right thing to do. I think on its own, this could be a good movie. Just not a good conclusion for this trilogy, as this trilogy already is. And I could kind of see elements of this movie and Kills to see what would have been the sequel. Like, off the top of my head, I could see that maybe Corey got blamed for the killings Michael did that night. So Laurie and Allyson had to stop Michael before he gets, I don't know, I don't know, hung. I don't really know where I was going with this, but I think you could tell I had an idea. Unlike the people who made this movie. Nah, I'm just kidding. They had too many ideas, so, you know. Now, go back to this movie, though. I have seen people who praise how different it is, while others are pissed, and I couldn't really find a side to go on. Because, you know, I wasn't around since the franchise began in the 70s, so it's hard for me to really say, oh man, this is the best movie in decades with Michael Myers. I've seen parts of the other sequels, but really, I just don't care enough. I think the first Halloween movie is still great, but, you know. Now, back to this review, though. So, I think it could work. Like, it's just not that interesting, so a lot of information is missing. Like, Corey gets no trial. He was let go, I guess. Like, they say he let him... They did kind of say he let him go, but, like, he was not convicted, which confuses me, since why doesn't he just leave this town that hates him? Like, same with Laurie and Allyson. Like, people are crapping on them due to what they don't know better. Which, if it were, like, months after the first movie, I would get. Like, that would make sense. But this is, like, 4 years after the end of the first movie. Or the second movie, too. Like, couldn't they have left this town by this point? Like, why stay in Haddonfield? Why do they stay in this town? Anyways, I thought Corey couldn't leave, though, because he'd be on parole or something, but that doesn't happen. In fact, according to the Wikipedia article, the place he works for is his stepfather's, even though I had no idea that I was his stepfather. I was a little confused, like, why does he work there? Like, I thought he couldn't get to college, so this was his only option. So, I just don't know. I also did not get grabbed by his training to becoming a killer, since Michael makes him evil by spraying his evil into him supernaturally. Like, he just stares at him and passes the evil, which I don't know about Michael's nature in all the movies in general, but as a trilogy, as this goes along, it's not made clear if he is supernatural. Like, I don't count him not dying for guns or knives as the same thing, since he's weak now, so it is inconsistent. I didn't like the atmosphere of this movie either, which I get it's being gritty and the tone is at least consistent this time. But with the characters being so miserable and lack of joy, this isn't that fun of a movie to watch. And taking it seriously is not good because I couldn't take it seriously. Like, I don't know, there were still stupid things like there's a scene in a bar with, like, the father of the kid Corey killed. He goes on this great speech about, like, how people are mad at him even though he's the one who suffered. And it is actually a great speech. And then it's ruined by him saying he almost confronted him and then saw the evil in his eye. Like, I'm just staring at this kid. Like, I get the parallel, but I'm like, he just looks like he's high. I don't know. Where was I? But yeah, I think I may have took Corey's situation more seriously if it was of his own free will or something. Like, he generally, he honestly wanted to actually kill these people, and letting out his evil corrupted him or something. Instead of just being Michael, I don't know, spreads his evil. It still confuses me. And so it's just not as interesting if it isn't willingly. Like, I get the idea that he could, if he was framed for Michael's killings now because he's weak, that'd be another thing, but whatever. Like, if this movie was rewritten with Michael being the lone killer who wants to live the last of his days, or something, like, if he wasn't Michael Myers and he was this famous serial killer that came before Corey, who wants to just be left alone but sees Corey and could follow in his footsteps, I don't know, maybe, but as is, I don't really know what else to say. Honestly, it makes me think of, another movie I saw this year, Pearl, which I said I didn't know if I would love more over time, but, you know, realizing what that movie did about a regular person becoming a psychotic killer over time, I guess I do appreciate it a lot more now, because it could have been this. And, yeah, you know what, this movie is not good. Like, this is not a good movie. I don't really have anything I liked about it, personally. I appreciate some of the cinematography, okay? It had a few nice shots. I don't think it deserved this movie, but, you know. And as much as I want to say what other people appreciate about the movie, even though that's not what I felt while watching it, and even though think of it now, sure, that makes me rethink the movie, when I finished the movie, I was in such a bummer mood and pissed. I watched Spy with Melissa McCarthy because it was also on Peacock, and that was the first time I watched it, and you know what? That was the thing that lifted my spirits so much, because my god, that took me out of my bummed mood. And honestly, it's not because I left the movie feeling like, oh man, this movie is so sad, I'm bummed out, like, no, this movie just let me feel empty. It felt empty. I finished that movie and I felt nothing. The characters were weak. The acting was okay at best. And the movie was occasionally had decent cinematography, like I said, but being unsure of its direction, if it wants to be a movie about Laurie, Strode, and Michael Myers, or Corey and Allyson, which, okay, I'll just say this. Corey and Allyson have no chemistry. Like, I get what they were going for, and I like the connection, kind of, but my god, did these two just not have chemistry at all. I didn't care about them getting together. Which, yes, it could be both. Honestly, like, it could be about all of these people together, about Haddonfield, even though this is a terrible town. Like, I get what they're also going for with the hysteria of, like, oh, they don't really know Michael Myers that well, so this is what they're assuming about them. Even though, it's like 4 years, just leave this town. So overall, it might or might not be on my worst list this year. I just don't have it in me to say anything else. This movie, I hated this movie. I want to appreciate it as much as other people who did like it. I'm just glad Halloween is ending. Not Halloween in general, just this saga. Because honestly, they can't really reboot it anymore. Like, I don't really know what to do next. Like, you can't reboot it because of technology these days, so it wouldn't work. And continuing it, it's like, now they came up with a pretty definitive way to end the series here, I'll say that, so... Yeah, no, I think Halloween might actually be over and they will reboot it. But, you know, they'll probably reboot Friday the 13th and the Jason Voorhees movies again because they can still have some potential. I don't know, man. At least X and Pearl were good this year, you know? Oh yeah, this movie. This movie sucks. I give Halloween Ends a 2 out of 10.